I want to talk today about a truth that we don't really like to look at. We're going to look at the value of a brown and a black baby and the way that brown and black babies die because their mothers fall through the system. And a system that was not really built to see us as black and brown women, a system that wasn't built to measure us, a system that wasn't built to protect us. So in the UK today, a brown or black baby is twice as likely to die before its first birthday. A black or brown mother is twice as likely to die in childbirth today. Not at any other time, today. And the reason this happens is not a question of biology. I hear everything, right? It's biology, it's economics, it's genetics, it's whatever. And it absolutely is not this. It's not biology, it's not chance, it's a system. And that's what I want to speak with you about today. I first became aware of this when I first stepped, naturally, fully healthy, try not to go near a hospital or a doctor, and then I get pregnant. There is no escape. And I entered what I didn't understand was a white medical system as a brown woman. And you're looking at these nurses, and they are clinical and they're kind, but the chart that they hold in their hands has much more authority than I do, even though it's my body. And it was a really humbling understanding, which again, you have the baby, life's changed, you get out of the hospital. And then when I got out of the hospital, I went straight back in within a few months, because what happened at that stage was that my son got sick. And when my son got sick, I'm standing in front of people. It's my baby, it's my child, right? And I'm standing in front of people that helped to create a nightmare for me, because none of my concerns were valid. None of my intuition was relevant. Everything that I knew about the body of this child, the data I had collected, was completely ignored. And I don't think that they ignored it because they weren't interested in me. What actually happened, this is how old my son was when he first went into hospital. They didn't ignore me because they weren't interested in me. They ignored me because I wasn't the default. And I didn't understand that. So I'm sitting in hospital. My son had anaphylaxis. He developed it around 5-6 months old. And he's sitting there, and I'm holding this child because they're trying to put a needle in him. He's very intelligent. He's fighting back. He's like, yeah, sure. So he's fighting back, and he suddenly goes quiet. And I think, oh, he's going to let them put a needle in. He had died. He had died in my arms. He had just stopped breathing. And they took my baby at this age, and they resuscitated him, and they took him to intensive care. And my son stayed in a coma for 1 week. And he came out of the coma, and they put those drips in here because you don't have veins big enough in this tiny little body to do this. He came out of the coma a week later. And it's obviously a life-changing event. He is fine. He is really too old at the moment. We have to lie about his age, but he's completely fine. He recovered from there. But what happened in this incident is that the baby literally on the left of him and the baby on the right of him never went home. There were mothers who didn't take these babies home with them. And I thought, oh my God, this is not just happening to me. It's happening to so many women. We talk about race often, like it's a separate story. Of course I think that. I'm brown, right? I think about race a lot because it's my everyday lived experience. But what is happening to brown and black mothers today in the medical system is actually not a race issue. It's actually a design flaw. And what's happening is that we see this happening to them because they're the outliers in a medical system. I'm going to explain what I mean. Because when you look at healthcare, healthcare was not really created for women, right? What healthcare was created for was for one ideal body, and it's known as the white body standard. Healthcare was created for a man who is English-speaking, economically able, and able-bodied, and it was made completely for him. And you think, yeah, we hear this all the time, but actually, all of medicine is made for this white body standard. Medicine creates symptoms on this standard, diagnosis on this standard. It creates drug trials on this standard. Medical dosage is created on this standard. Everything that happens is created around this standard. Medical algorithms are created on this standard. So I want you to understand that your future, no matter what you look like, is being judged by this standard. Because this is what we are feeding into our medical systems and for what is supposed to function. When you assume that medicine is created for this standard, you have to understand men do not have periods. Men do not have babies. Men don't actually have perimenopause. Men don't have any of these things. So a healthcare standard doesn't exist for measuring the way women's bodies actually work. So any woman, all women, from white through to black, when you walk into a system, you're walking into a system that is not calibrated for you. You are literally taking your life into your hands. And the problem we have with this is that when you look at different scenarios in medical health, you will see that this doesn't work. Perimenopause. I heard a man say on radio, listen to me. I heard a man say on TikTok, let's try that today. He said, perimenopause happens to some women. Thank you for that. I'm like, sorry, excuse me. Perimenopause happens to all women. Not only does perimenopause happen to all women, it happens to 50% of the world. But that was very nice of him to explain it to me. I mean, I appreciated the thought. Understand this. Doctors go in for training, and there is a 1 to 2 hour elective training on perimenopause. Do you understand that? They don't have to learn about it. It's elective. So the next time you stand in front of a doctor and he says, as he does, to 68% of women, how about don't you have an antidepressant drug? I think you're just depressed. It's not really perimenopause. You know why? Heart disease is misdiagnosed in 50% of women because the tradition of heart disease, you know where you think, oh, if you've got a pain here, you're getting a heart attack? For women, no. It starts in the middle of your back. And it feels like indigestion. You didn't even know that. Right? And when you go through perimenopause, the incidences of this, as if you don't treat it with estrogen therapy, go up by 72%. Estrogen therapy is your friend. Drug safety. Ambien was prescribed at double the dose for women for 20 years. 20 years. Do you know why they stopped doing that and why they looked into it? After 20 years, because women kept falling asleep at the wheel of their car and crashing the car. And then they were like, there might be a little problem with this. We should look at this. 20 years. What's ironic about this is that when you look at where airbags are deployed in cars, women are 47% more likely to actually get hurt in a car crash and 17% more likely to die in an accident that a man is in. The reason we're going to do this is because crash test dummies were developed as male crash test dummies in 1966. Would you like to know when female crash test dummies were designed? In the United States in 2025. Now, 50% of the population, clinical trials, only 30% of clinical trials, less, to be fair, it's around 27, 28, are female. Of all clinical trials done, less than 20% are analyzed by sex. It was only 3 years ago that when they made period tests on pads and tampons, they used blood, not water. 3 years ago. So, let's look at another system. Healthcare is not the only system that erases women. If you go into the workplace does the same thing. It has one ideal worker. That ideal worker is linear, predictable, and uninterrupted. What do I mean by that? That ideal worker does not conceive, does not get pregnant, does not have babies, does not breastfeed, does not have a postpartum body, and does not have perimenopause. Who do we think the ideal uninterrupted worker is? It's a man. Now, every time you say a woman goes to work and needs to work differently, what are you doing? You're fighting the ideal, therefore you are wrong. It's like constantly measuring me at how good I am at being a white blonde woman. I'm going to fail. But that is not the measure that should be applied. But that's what happens in workplaces now. Just as medicine treats the male biology as human biology, workplaces treat male productivity as human productivity. So if you want to take time off to go and do, I don't know, repopulate the human race, you will be penalized, which I think you already know because you're female and giggling. So what happens when you're a woman and you're at work? Women pay a 30% penalty in their pay for actually repopulating the world. We get thrown out at perimenopause. We get thrown out at birth. We get thrown out at all kinds of different times from a workplace because what we're doing in a workplace is not being productive. Because results are not measured as productivity. It's the linear, predictable, uninterruptedness of who we are as workers that is measured on this particular thing. So when you start to look at this, the irony of it is this. We actually create companies that are 25% bigger than male companies are. But we aren't allowed to look at that as an achievement because we're so busy getting thrown out of the companies that we are building. So what I want you to understand is women are not a weakness. It's actually the system that's outdated. Let's go back to healthcare where we were 2 minutes ago, right? When you look at healthcare, what's happening is people are saying women's systems are complicated. They're difficult. They're just hard to understand. Obviously, you don't know anything about it. Why would you think it's easy to understand? I'm still failing at being a white woman. Is that really my fault? Or is the system wrong? Whenever things get a little too much, I think back of my childhood. My father was a farmer, and a farmer in Malawi, and he said that when you plant the same crop every year, again and again, what happens is that the soil forgets to live. Because it actually hurts the soil when you do that. What does that mean? It means that monoculture fields look really cute. They look really efficient, particularly from very far away. They look really great. But underneath it, the soil is dying. The monoculture soil has no nutrients. It doesn't have any resilience, and it has zero immunity because it doesn't like being planted with just one particular plant. But when you bring back diversity, and what you do is you plant different roots and you plant different species, the land heals. Because nature is not biased. Nature is utterly brilliant. Nature understands what our systems don't understand, the systems that are built that we have to live with. Diversity is not decoration. It is absolutely survival. It is the survival of our species. But when healthcare is monoculture, workplaces are monoculture, leadership is monoculture. Heck, normal is monoculture. And monoculture ultimately must collapse because it doesn't thrive. So I built this organization, the one that I lead today, and we have worked over 15 years with 21,000 women, built on one radical assumption. Radical. Women are not small men. Right? Woo! Definitely. Women are not small men. This is apparently obvious, but it isn't. Not in the systems that we all live in every day, where you sit here and when you walk out that door, when you have a baby, when you live life, when you go to work. None of this is taken into account because women are supposed to be small men. When you do drug dosages, 76% of drugs, including ones that are for women's bodies, are tested on men. Women are not small men. Our biology deserves visibility, it deserves design, and it really deserves respect. And ultimately, it deserves to be seen for what it is, not judged for what it cannot and should not do. We have taken it upon ourselves to redesign workplaces with one simple concept: let women bring their biology to work. So that what we do is we have not any reason to hide that we have been pregnant, our postpartum bodies, our lived experiences, because we go around trying to pretend we're men at work because that's the system. We're really bad at it, by the way. We pay a price for this, physically and emotionally, but that's what we do. So what we do is we help companies build a culture where the biology of a woman is not a liability, it's actually an asset. Because when women thrive, families thrive, workplaces thrive, and societies thrive. When I'm asking you, what is the value of a brown baby? What I'm saying is, what future dies when we decide that certain bodies don't matter? When we make that decision today, what are we giving up in the future? Because the power to change infant mortality is not something that can be done in a hospital. It can only be done in the actual system that supports that hospital, workplace, leadership, society. And our systems determine who can be seen and who can be heard. And until our systems change to see and hear us as women, we will not have a place in any of those systems by right. We will only be given permission to enter those systems. So they do need to change. Monocultures die. Diversity isn't a slogan, and even though I know you've heard different, diversity is not political correctness. What diversity is it's a biological requirement for the survival of the species, our species. When we redesign healthcare and workplaces and leadership in order to honor the existence and the variety of women, what we are doing, particularly when we can honor women of color as the outliers in the system, is that we are bringing humanity back to life. Thank you.